Awesome. My name is Michael Ducille. I have a brand called the 1% Mindset, and that basically stems around taking the negative stereotype out of the 1%. I believe that anyone who does anything elite or who wants to really achieve more, it's the mindset behind it. I know that anything you do starts from the shoulders up before it starts from the shoulders down. And I've kind of developed that mindset through daily disciplines and principles that I believe in. That's allowed me to, I also have a podcast, create videos that came out with a motivational album. So there's a ton of different things that I've done throughout the journey that's kind of allowed me to grow and really develop, certain key principles that kind of stems from where I am today.
So Michael, I want to throw it over to you and the 1% mindset. First of all, you really talk about fear, and you have this acronym that, of course, I live by as well. I want you to talk about like something that you have had to overcome, or what fear obstacle have you been presented with when it comes to entrepreneurship, and then two, how has having a podcast helped you to level up in your business?
Absolutely. I think the most recent project that I did that was probably the scariest, quote unquote, was coming out with a motivational album, right? I kind of got into this journey, I say kind of by accident. And, I was in a place where I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I hired a coach, and I think having a mentor or a coach is one of the single most important things that you can do, especially when you're trying to get somewhere. And as I was hashing out details with him, I just tried a bunch of different things. And one of my passions is reading. So I have a book club that I do every single Tuesday, and we talk about different books each and every, like we go through a book a month, and each week we go through a particular part. And I remember one particular month, nobody was reading consistently. And I was doing the math, and I said, if it takes you about 7 hours to read an entire book, I said, there's 720 hours in a month, ideally. So I said, I'm asking for less than 1% of your month, not less than 1% of your week or your day, less than 1% of your month to read, to intake good things. And I did that on this book club, and I was like, this is pretty powerful, right? So I created a Facebook video, and I didn't have like a huge following on Facebook or anything. And like within a week, I had like 4,000 plus views, over like 50 or 60 shares. And I was like, whoa, people resonated with what I was saying. And after that happened, then I started doing weekly videos every single week, and I kind of started building, this brand, this 1% Mindset brand. And I think the hardest thing, like I said, that I did was this motivational album. And I wanted to make sure that with each track that somebody was able to get something. So fear was one of them, like you said, and the acronym that I used, and I'm pretty sure that other places was, false evidence appearing real, which you guys know, or, forget everything and run, right? We tend to be scared, but we don't know exactly what it is that we're afraid of. Like, I can go up and say, man, I'm afraid of public speaking. Well, what part of that are you afraid of? Are you afraid of just people watching you? Are you afraid of people? Are you afraid of talking? Like, what part of public speaking are you afraid of? Or I can think about when I was speaking to someone who's extremely afraid of going on interviews, right? When they ask her a question, well, tell me about yourself, and then she freezes up. So I said to her, I said, and she had a daughter, I said, if your daughter asks you, what do you do? Or, tell me about yourself, you have no problem pouring out into your daughter or your child, what it is you do or who you are. But when a stranger, quote unquote, asks you that, you freeze, like, what is that thing? And, I always try to push myself to do things that are uncomfortable, because it starts to become normal for me, right? And with the normal state of being uncomfortable, I'm able to put myself out there. And that's why, again, I had, I came out with the album, which did surprisingly, in my eyes, I should say, well, but people have seen what I've been doing over the last year plus, so it's like, oh, I expected this from you. So I think fear is just really, it's a mindset that you just have to get over, right? You have to put yourself in positions to be uncomfortable on a regular basis, and when you do that, then it starts to become normal, right? That thing that's stopping you in order to get to the next level, or in order to have that 1% mindset, which the stereotype of the 1%. People always think of like, the wealthy people or, snobbish or whatever that looks like for you. It's just, like I said, it's just a mindset that people have to be elite in certain areas. And it doesn't have to be money-based. It can be academics, it can be sports, it can be whatever it is. If you don't have your mindset correct, you're not going to sustain long-term success in anything. So, yeah.
You're such a speaker. I love it. You invested in a mentor. Because a lot of us get mentors just through, we can call anybody a mentor, right? But if you invest in a mentor, that's just next level, right? Tell me about that experience and how beneficial you feel like it was to make that investment in yourself.
It's probably one of the single most important things, like I said, that I've done. What it did for me is I was able to develop discipline, right? And I always say, as an entrepreneur, one of the single most important things you need to have is discipline. So one of the ways I try to exercise that is I made sure that every morning consistently, Monday through Friday, even though I don't have to, I'm in the gym at 5 a.m., right? So some days I don't have to, run programs till 10, but I'm every single morning, 5 a.m., I'm at the gym. And what that does for me is a few things. One, it allowed me to get into a space where when I don't want to do something, I do it anyway. And you're going to develop habits regardless. It's a matter of developing whether it's good or bad habits. What is it that you want to develop? What is it that you want to take in? And I knew that starting that, I was able to develop a good habit with doing something I really didn't want to do. Like, no one wants to wake up, at 4:30 a.m. to get to the gym, especially in the wintertime, right? So it's dark when I leave, it's dark when I come. Like, it's miserable in New York in the winter. But I consistently did that, and having that check-in with someone. Hey, what are you doing? How can I help? Like, having a mentor that really stands by you and making sure that you own your truth, right? A lot of times we aspire to be, whoever it is, right? And if you're not true to yourself, it doesn't matter who you aspire to be. Like, I'm comfortable owning who I am, and I can speak about certain things because I do it. Right? I can talk about, hey, you need to be disciplined, you need to go to the gym, you need to read, and I can say it with conviction because that's what I do, right? And a lot of times you look at all of these people that, say a lot of things or try to do things for Instagram or whatever the case is, and they're not owning their truth, right? But because I own it, I'm comfortable speaking it, and I can speak with conviction where people listen because that's what I do. And my mentor is actually who instilled a lot of those principles in me, because I try to be other people, right? People that I was, someone I wasn't, looking at what they were doing or what they were posting or who they were trying to, who they were emulating. And when I really, dug deep, I'm like, you're not this person, right? This is not who you are. And, just developing those core principles and values, through him, and being able to instill it on other people is, again, probably the best investment, I've made. And I think it's extremely important to understand that everyone here has someone that looks up to them, regardless if you think it or not. I even think about when I was 8 years old, and I'm 4 years older than my younger sister, and just watching WWF at the time, and like everything that I did at the time, she looked up to it. And so when you're in a place of just being here, there's someone watching you, regardless if you think it or not, and it's up to you to provide really good or instill good values, instill good principles in them. So yeah, you may not be where you want to be, but there's someone that's looking to you and trying to get to your level at some point. So if you're not doing the right things, if you're not really pouring in, intaking good things or pouring out good information, then you're doing not only yourself a disservice, but whoever it is that's watching you, whoever is looking up to you. I've done a lot of, over the last few years, speaking to young adults, speaking to high schoolers, speaking to elementary school. So I think just pouring back in, giving the future hope and giving them belief, allowing them to see, what you're doing so they understand that this is possible. I can start a business, I can be a mentor, I can, whatever it is. And I think that the power of thought is extremely important, and if you're able to give someone that, then you're able to open up the world to so many things. So just being able to pour back into other people, especially the younger generation or, high schoolers, whatever that looks like, I think that's been probably one of the key things that I've done. I think anything that you're passionate about, it's going to be a slow build, and if you do it initially for the money, you're going to fail. So like you said, anything that it took you 6 years basically to get what you are, doing what I'm doing now. I'm building something slowly, and everything that I've put out so far, it hasn't been for a paycheck. It's been to kind of put my brand out there. It's been to inspire any way I can. It's been to kind of grow, and I know that throughout the process of building that foundation, then my passion will then kind of explode, and then I'm able to pursue, exactly what it is that I want. So just really building the foundation from the ground up and understanding that it'll take time to build it, it'll take time to grow, and it can never be initially about the money, because that's when things skew a little bit. And basically, yeah, that's what, passion is pursuing to me.